Far beyond the edge of the known world, suspended in a boundless ocean of deep indigo dust and quiet shadows, drifts the Aetherium Conservatory. It is a masterpiece of dark wrought iron and sweeping glass arches, a floating sanctuary of life drifting in the eternal cosmic midnight. Elias, the sole guardian of this celestial greenhouse, walks slowly down the central nave. His footsteps fall softly on the ancient stone path, worn smooth by centuries of quiet guardians before him. You can hear the steady, rhythmic click of his boots, muffled by the thick moss that creeps along the edges of the walkway. Outside the massive glass domes, the universe is a slow dance of silver light and deep purple voids. Wisps of nebula gas drift like lazy clouds across the starlight, painting the dark glass with ghostly reflections. It is so peaceful here, so profoundly quiet. The air inside the conservatory is heavy and warm, carrying the rich, earthy scent of damp soil, of ancient roots, and of sweet, blooming night flowers. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with the comforting scent of the earth, and exhale slowly, letting the silence wrap around you like a heavy, velvet blanket. Elias carries a small brass lantern, its warm amber light swaying gently with his slow, deliberate steps. The light pushes back the gentle shadows just enough to reveal the massive silhouettes of the trees, their sprawling branches reaching up toward the starry canopy above. The conservatory hums with a faint, almost imperceptible vibration, the heartbeat of the engines keeping this sanctuary afloat in the void. It is a low, soothing rumble, a vibration that you can feel in the soles of your feet, traveling up through your body, relaxing every muscle, easing every tension. You are safe here, hidden away from the rush of the world, enclosed in glass and iron, floating in the beautiful dark. The only task tonight is to watch, to listen, and to let the quiet magic of the greenhouse unfold. As Elias walks, he brushes his hand against the broad leaves of a sleeping fern, its surface cool and slick with dew. The water droplets catch the lantern light, shimmering like tiny stars fall into earth. Everything moves at a slower pace here. There is no hurry, no urgency, only the steady, endless breathing of the cosmos and the gentle, deep slumber of the garden. Deep in the heart of the conservatory lies the great courtyard, a circular stone plaza centered around an ancient tiered fountain. The stone is dark and cool, covered in patches of velvety green moss that thrive in the eternal twilight. Elias approaches the fountain, his footsteps slow and deliberate, echoing softly into the vast leafy canopy above. The fountain does not spray water, but rather it collects the rich silver mist from the nebula outside, condensing it into a heavy, glowing liquid that trickles slowly from one tier to the next. Drip, drip, drip. The sound is perfectly rhythmic, a natural metronome that slows the racing of the mind and calms the beating of the heart. Listen to the water as it falls gently into the deep stone basin below, creating slow, perfect ripples that travel outward, bouncing off the edges and returning to the center. Elias kneels beside the basin, the damp stone cool against his knees. He carries a large, beautifully tarnished brass watering can, the metal cool to the touch. He slowly submerses the spout into the silver water. The water rushes in with a hollow, comforting sound, filling the heavy vessel. The air here is so thick with moisture you can almost taste it. A clean, pure taste like fresh rain on midnight stones. Take another deep breath, drawing in the cool, misty air, feeling it soothe your throat and settle deep in your chest. As the watering can fills, Elias watches the surface of the basin. The glowing silver water reflects the stars outside the glass roof, making it look as though he is gathering the cosmos itself into his hands. He lifts the heavy can, water dripping softly from its bottom, returning to the basin with quiet splashes. He turns to a row of large terracotta pots, each containing a sleeping, dark-leaved sapling. He tips the spout, and the silver water pours out in a slow, gentle arch, soaking into the dark, thirsty soil. The earth drinks the water greedily, producing a soft, whispering fizz as the moisture seeps deep down into the roots. Down, down into the dark. It is a sound of pure nourishment, of life quietly sustaining itself in the shadows. The glowing water sinks into the black earth, leaving behind a faint, beautiful shimmer that fades slowly into the dark. Elias moves to the next pot and repeats the process. The gentle tilt of the brass, the soft pour of the water, the quiet whisper of the soil. It is a ritual of care, a slow, endless cycle of giving and resting, allowing the quiet peace of the conservatory to wash over every shadow. Beyond the central courtyard, the stone path narrows, winding its way into the denser, more ancient parts of the greenhouse. Here, the grand iron arches dip lower, creating an intimate, shadowed tunnel of thick foliage. This is the grove of the Starlight Ferns. Elias walks slowly through the gentle gloom, his lantern held low. The air is noticeably cooler here, carrying a crisp ozone scent mixed with the sweet fragrance of night-blooming jasmine. As Elias approaches, the shadows seem to respond to his presence. The Starlight Ferns are massive, their long, elegant fronds drooping toward the floor, completely dark in their slumber. But as Elias steps closer, the subtle vibration of his footsteps awakens them. Slowly, so very slowly, the edges of the leaves begin to emit a soft, pale blue luminescence. It starts as a faint glimmer, like the first hint of dawn, and gradually spreads along the intricate veins of the leaves, casting a beautiful, ghostly light onto the damp stone path. As the light spreads, the fronds begin to unfurl, moving with a quiet, papery rustle. Swish, swish. The sound is like the gentle rubbing of dry silk, a soothing, rhythmic whisper that fills the cool air. Elias stops, standing perfectly still in the center of the grove, allowing the ferns to awaken completely around him. The pale blue light bathes his face, washing away any lingering shadows. You can feel the quiet energy of the plants, a deep, ancient calm that radiates from their glowing leaves. The light is not harsh, but soft and diffused, like moonlight filtering through deep water. Take a breath and imagine that cool blue light washing over you, soothing your tired eyes, easing the tension in your brow, relaxing your shoulders. The ferns continue their slow, mesmerizing dance, swaying gently even though there is no wind, moving to the silent rhythm of the nebula outside. Elias reaches out a gloved hand, gently brushing his fingertips against a massive glowing frond. The plant responds to his touch, the blue light shifting slightly to a warm violet, pulsing softly like a slow, steady heartbeat. The rustling of the leaves creates a constant white noise, a blanket of sound that muffles the outside universe completely. There is nothing here but the quiet breath of the garden, the soft glow of the leaves, and the deep, comforting darkness that waits patiently just beyond the light. You are drifting, floating along with the slow sway of the ferns, sinking deeper into the calm, deeper into the peaceful quiet of the cosmic garden. In a secluded alcove, tucked away behind a curtain of weeping willow branches, sits the botanist's desk. It is a massive, heavy piece of dark oak, its surface scarred and smoothed by countless hours of quiet work. An antique brass lamp with a green glass shade casts a warm, amber pool of light across the wood, offering a cozy contrast to the vast, cool darkness of the surrounding conservatory. Elias sets his lantern down, pulling out the heavy leather chair with a soft, muted scrape against the stone floor. He sits with a heavy, contented sigh, feeling the familiar embrace of the worn leather. The desk is covered in the tools of his quiet trade: glass vials of silver water, small clay pots, and a large, thick journal bound in cracked black leather. He reaches for a porcelain cup sitting on the edge of the desk. It is filled with hot, herbal tea, brewed from the dried roots of the quiet bloom flowers. Steam rises from the dark liquid, twisting and curling lazily into the amber light before vanishing into the cool shadows. Elias wraps his hands around the warm cup, feeling the comforting heat seep into his skin, warming his palms, traveling up his arms. You can almost feel that warmth yourself, spreading through your chest, a deep, radiating comfort that chases away the chill of the night. He brings the cup to his lips, taking a slow, careful sip. The tea tastes of earth and honey, a grounding, peaceful flavor. He sets the cup down with a soft, delicate clink against the wooden desk. He opens the heavy journal, the thick parchment pages turning with a dry, heavy rustle. He picks up a quill, dipping it slowly into a pot of dark, midnight blue ink. The only sound in the alcove is the gentle, rhythmic scratching of the quill against the thick paper. Scritch, scratch, scritch. It is a hypnotic sound, a tiny, deliberate noise that focuses the mind and blocks out all other thoughts. He draws the intricate veins of a newly discovered leaf, his hand moving with slow, practiced precision. The scratching of the pen is accompanied by the distant, muffled hum of the conservatory engines and the occasional soft drip of condensation falling from the glass roof far above. Together, these sounds create a perfect symphony of isolation and peace. Elias pauses, resting the quill on its stand, and leans back in the leather chair, closing his eyes for just a moment. He lets out a long, slow breath, allowing the profound quiet of the alcove to settle deep into his bones. The amber light glows softly against his eyelids, wrapping him in a cocoon of safety, of solitude, of absolute calm. Elias leaves the warmth of the desk, picking up his lantern once more, and makes his way toward the descending spiral staircase at the back of the conservatory. The wrought iron steps are narrow, leading down, down, deep into the belly of the floating greenhouse. This is the mist chamber, the lowest level of the structure, where the roots of the greatest trees reach down to drink from the humid air. As he descends, the temperature drops slightly, and the air grows incredibly thick, almost heavy with moisture. A dense silver fog rolls across the grated iron floor, curling around his boots with every slow step. The visibility here is low, the lantern light only piercing a few feet into the thick, swirling mist. It feels like walking through a cloud, completely disconnected from the rest of the world. Long, pale aerial roots hang down from the ceiling above, vanishing into the fog below. They look like ghostly tendrils, draped silently in the damp air. Elias moves slowly through the fog, his hand gently brushing aside the damp roots. They are cool and soft to the touch, covered in tiny beads of condensation. Water gathers on the tips of the roots, swelling into large, heavy drops before falling into the unseen depths below. Plop, plop, plop. The sound of the falling water echoes strangely in the thick fog, muffled and distant, bouncing off invisible walls. It is deeply disorienting in the most comforting way, stripping away any sense of direction, any sense of time. You are just floating in the mist, surrounded by the slow, silent breathing of the roots. Take a deep breath. The air here is so rich, so wet, it feels like drinking in a pure, cool mountain stream. The mist settles on your skin, a gentle, cooling blanket that soothes away any lingering heat, any lingering stress. Elias stops in the center of the chamber, letting the fog completely engulf him. He closes his eyes and just listens. The chamber is a sensory deprivation tank of nature. There is only the damp chill, the smell of raw earth and water, and the rhythmic, endless dripping. It is a place to forget everything, to let the mind unspool and drift aimlessly into the gray, silver void. In this chamber, there is no past, no future, only the present moment, the cool mist, the hanging roots, and the profound, heavy weight of peace, pulling you deeper, deeper into relaxation. Ascending from the heavy mist of the lower levels, Elias emerges onto a suspended glass walkway that arcs high above the main canopy. This is the domain of the glass chime vines, delicate, translucent plants that cling to the upper arches of the conservatory, right against the massive starry windows. The air up here is lighter, slightly warmer, and filled with a gentle, artificial breeze created by the slow turning of massive brass fans hidden in the shadows. The breeze brushes against Elias's face, soft and continuous, drying the dampness from the mist chamber below. As the gentle wind moves through the walkway, it stirs the thousands of translucent leaves hanging from the vines above. The leaves are hard and smooth, like polished sea glass, and as they touch one another, they produce a sound of incredible beauty. Tink, tink, chime. It is a cascade of soft, crystalline notes, like 1,000 tiny wind chimes playing a random, delicate lullaby. The sound is high and pure, cutting through the heavy silence of the greenhouse like tiny drops of silver light. Elias walks slowly along the glass path, his footsteps almost silent so as not to disturb the music. He reaches up, running his fingers lightly through a hanging cluster of the glass vines. The leaves tinkle and chime against his gloves, sending a ripple of soft melody down the length of the walkway. The sound is incredibly soothing, a gentle massage for the mind, washing away any chaotic thoughts, leaving behind only a smooth, calm surface. Look out through the enormous arched window beside the walkway. The dark nebula stretches on forever, an endless canvas of deep violet and black, speckled with the distant, unblinking light of ancient stars. The contrast between the cold, silent vastness of space and the warm, musical life inside the glass is deeply comforting. You are inside, you are safe, you are wrapped in a cocoon of light and sound, while the cold dark remains forever on the outside. The brass fans turn slowly, generating another long, soft sigh of wind. The vines respond with a fresh wave of chiming, a shimmering curtain of sound that rises and falls like the breathing of the universe. Elias leans against the iron railing, closing his eyes and letting the delicate music wash over him. The chimes become a hypnotic rhythm, a gentle tinkling that invites the mind to drift, to let go, to follow the sound down into the deep, quiet valleys of sleep. Elias slowly descends from the high walkway, making his way back down to the dark, earthy floor of the main garden. He approaches a massive, ancient pot near the edge of the conservatory wall. Inside the pot is a mound of rich, dark soil, resting beneath the drooping branches of a withered starseed sapling. The plant's leaves are usually a vibrant, glowing gold, but tonight, several of the large leaves have faded to a dull, ashen gray, their light spent, their energy returned to the roots. It is time for the midnight pruning, a task Elias performs with the utmost reverence and care. He kneels beside the great pot, setting his lantern down so it casts long, soft shadows across the dark soil. He reaches into his leather apron and withdraws a pair of small, blackened iron shears. He gently takes hold of one of the withered leaves, feeling its dry, papery texture. With a soft, deliberate motion, he clips the stem. Snip. The sound is crisp and incredibly satisfying in the quiet air. The leaf falls into his palm, completely devoid of its golden light. He places it gently on the surface of the dark soil. He moves to the next faded leaf, holding it delicately. Snip. Another crisp sound, another leaf placed on the earth. He repeats this slow, methodical process, snipping away the old, making room for the new. It is a meditation, a repetition of small, precise movements that requires no heavy thought, only presence, only care. Once the dry leaves are gathered, Elias begins to turn the soil. He pushes his bare hands into the cool, dark dirt. It is damp and incredibly soft, yielding easily to his touch. He buries the fallen leaves deep within the pot, pushing them down into the dark, where they will slowly decay and feed the roots of the sapling. The smell of the rich, turned earth is intoxicating, a deep, primal scent that speaks of growth, of cycles, of quiet, unseen life. As he covers the last leaf, a faint, warm golden glow begins to emanate from the base of the sapling. The plant is responding to his care, gathering its strength for a new cycle of growth. Elias pats the soil down, his hands moving slowly, rhythmically, pressing the dark earth firm. The physical sensation of the cool dirt on his hands, the crisp sound of the shears, the faint golden glow, it all blends together into a perfect tapestry of peace. The work is done, the garden is tended, and the heavy, comforting pull of exhaustion begins to settle into Elias's shoulders, signaling that his long night is finally coming to an end. Elias cleans his hands with a damp cloth, leaving the gentle golden glow of the sapling behind as he walks toward the very center of the Aetherium Conservatory. Here, beneath the tallest glass dome, stands the great elder tree, a massive, ancient specimen with bark as dark as the void outside and broad, deep purple leaves that absorb the ambient light of the stars. Strung between two of the tree's massive, arching roots is a heavy canvas hammock, padded with thick woolen blankets and soft, worn pillows. This is Elias's resting place, the quiet heart of his floating sanctuary. He sets the brass lantern down on a nearby stone and reaches over to turn the small dial at its base. The amber light slowly dims, fading down to a tiny, warm ember, leaving the conservatory bathed only in the pale, natural light of the nebula and the distant glow of the bioluminescent plants. Elias climbs into the hammock, the canvas creaking softly as it takes his weight. He lies back, pulling a heavy, dark woolen blanket over his chest. The blanket is incredibly warm, offering a gentle, weighted pressure that immediately relaxes his tired muscles. He sinks deeply into the soft pillows, his body perfectly cradled by the suspended canvas. Above him, through the sprawling branches of the elder tree, he can see the massive glass dome and the endless expanse of the cosmos beyond. The silver dust of the nebula drifts slowly across the glass, a silent, magnificent show playing out just for him. The hammock sways, just a fraction of an inch, back and forth, a slow, rocking motion induced by the subtle vibration of the conservatory's engines. It is the ultimate cradle, floating in the exact center of a vast, quiet universe. The sounds of the greenhouse surround him like a lullaby, the distant, muffled drip of silver water, the faint, high chime of the glass vines, the soft rustle of the starlight ferns. They blend together into a continuous, soothing hum. Take one final, deep breath, feeling the warmth of the heavy blanket, the gentle sway of the hammock, the absolute safety of the glass and iron. As you exhale, let your eyes grow heavy. The silver light of the stars begins to blur, softening into a hazy, beautiful glow. The dark purple leaves above seem to nod, whispering a quiet goodnight. The silence of the void wraps around the conservatory, a perfect, endless peace. Elias's breathing slows, matching the rhythmic, gentle pulse of the garden. The darkness is warm, the shadows are kind, and there is nothing left to do but drift away, deep, deep into the quiet embrace of slumber.